What to do, Internet? David Baugh here, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 most important things that they did not teach you in film school. Let's get into it.
Oh, as long as it looks good for the internet.
Alright, number 1. I get asked all the time, how do you network and get clients, right? You want to obviously be meeting people, you want to be converting them into paying customers. So the way that you do this is not going to be going to one of those stupid networking events or, meeting a bunch of people that also want to get into filmmaking that aren't doing it now, so they went to this networking event. You're going to meet them on set. You're going to have a business card, hopefully, and you hand them your business card. Sometimes you can even write a personalized note on the back. I tend to go to a film set and then I'll meet 5 people that are doing it that, especially if it's paid, right? Especially if you go there and you're getting money in return, that person's probably got other work. That person's probably going to continue doing things, right? You may say, oh, well, David, I don't know anybody that's doing any filmmaking. There's nothing going on. So to that, I would say, let's do this. Let's go to Craigslist here. Let's go to, first of all, there's jobs, TV, video, and film. Video content creator. Somebody's looking for somebody to go and do things. Maybe I'll blur this out. Don't mess with Duncan, right? It's not ideal, but it'll get your foot in the door. It'll get you going with something, right? There may be, you may be able to go to gigs here. Creative. Let's see. They need a music critic. That's $14 an hour. They're looking for a TV sponsorship guru, right? Photographers, videographer, intern. That might be good if you're just starting out, right? This exists everywhere. You can do creative gigs. Crew gigs is a good place to find stuff. Talent gigs, right? This is just to get you started. This is to get your foot in the door. There are a million websites that you can use to find stuff. There's Thumbtack, there's Mandy.com, there's forums. You can go to different things in your area. The point is to find somebody that's already doing it and help them do it more and make it a win-win relationship for everyone involved, right? Because if it's a win-win, then they're always going to want to come back to you because, hey, that was awesome. We both made money. Everything worked out. My project was spectacular afterwards. Let's go do it, right? And then after a while, it snowballs, and then all of your income is coming from people that you already knew, right? Maybe you got in with a photographer that can recommend you to things. Different business people will often recommend things like that. You find somebody that does video, and then you tend to stick with it. Works out pretty nicely that way. The next thing I get asked a lot is, how you are setting your prices for things and how you are telling the client what you want to be paid and moving forward from there. One, you should have an established day rate that's going to be worth it for your time, right? It should be commensurate with the equipment that you're bringing in, that sort of thing. I generally charge a flat fee for the day if you need me just for the day, or if you have a longer project, we can go by the hour. I've even been known to set everything up, as a weekly payment or a monthly payment, depending on what it is I'm doing and for how long I'm doing it. But oftentimes it's just a matter of taking your expenses, taking all of the things it's going to cost you to make this happen, adding your margin in, 30%. Let's say we have a band and they're looking to have a 3-camera shoot. They want everything on cranes or whatever, and whatever their shit is, right? You just take it over. Let's start here. Let's start with Lens Pro To Go. It's a service for renting cameras. You can rent it looks like a 4-day rental. You can set how many days you need it. Say you need matching cameras. You don't have matching cameras. Let's get 3 of these, right? 180 a piece. That's math. And then you find out what your bottom line is. Like, this is the absolute lowest that I can do this for. Add a margin, right? As you start getting better and you're finding that you're just working far more than you can keep up with, raise your prices a little. You find that even at that rate, you're just totally swamped, raise them again. You know, keep it going like that. You're going to eventually start being able to fund your own projects, and you're going to be able to start bringing it all forward. So let's talk about getting your business up and running and the different options that are there. So if you are just starting out, you don't have anything to your name, you're not really looking to do anything, you might get into a doing business as license. It's about $50, right? You're basically just telling the government, hey, this is me, I'm doing business as this entity, and it goes from there, right? Next step up, you would have an LLC. That's what I have. I think it costs a little bit more money. In my area, I think it was about $300. I filed it myself. It's about 4 questions that you got to prove to the government. You got to have a registered agent. You got to have somebody that lives there. You got to have a description for your business, various other things. You can absolutely talk to a lawyer if you have more questions about the intricacies of that. But you can get an LLC set up. That gives you sort of an umbrella, right? There's the company, and then there's you down below. If somebody were to sue, they're suing the company first and not you. That's why that would be more beneficial, right? If you're making a lot more money and you're building it up a lot more and you're getting a lot more employees, you might jump up to an S Corp or C Corp. Those have their own benefits. Further than that, you might have a corporation if you're like Universal or something and you're making a lot of movies, right? I assume you're not at that level if this is the conversation that we're having, but that's your different options to get it going. A lot of times you just go to the county clerk's office and you actually file your paperwork to get the business going. It can be a lot of fun. You know, business is a useful beast because you get to write off a lot of expenses on your taxes. You know, you can depreciate the cost of your equipment. You can write off part of your rent, part of your phone bills, you know, that are used specifically for the business, especially if you have receipts to prove those things. Whereas as a normal citizen off the streets, you may not have as much leeway with that, right? The corporation or the LLC or whatever you have, it's going to give you a little bit more credibility towards making those things happen. Now, paying your bills with video, it can be wonderful, it can be awful. It's very feast or famine, I found, especially if you're freelance. Now, if you get in on a good project and you're making lots of money, awesome. You do want to plan for the time that you're not making that much money because it'll probably come. You know, 90% of people that are working and living in the film industry are not doing anything glamorous. They're not names that you would recognize, at least not if you're not in those specific circles. It's often like I'll be editing one day, that'll get me a few $100. I'll do, you know, a short film or whatever, that'll give me a few $100. I'll get this thing over here, and then it'll add up to my expenses every month. Obviously, if those things don't come through, like Corona is happening right now, and kind of sucks. Everything's sort of dried up, but that's sort of the nature of the beast. You're always looking for work. You're always going to be struggling for something. Even if you're very well established, you may not be able to get into jobs that you want, that sort of thing. It sort of is where it is. But one thing that they don't talk about is where the money comes from, right? How do you get funding for your project that you want to do, and what do you do with the money once you have it, right? First of all, you got to know what you want. I've done a video on budgeting for feature films. You can check that out here. I've talked about breaking down scripts for production and determining what all you need for each one of those things. That's a whole can of worms. Obviously, yours is going to be very specific, but the money typically comes from somebody that's very passionate. It's mostly private funding when you're looking at feature films. Documentaries are going to get more public funding, obviously, because they are typically made to benefit the public good, whereas other projects are just not going to receive that, right? If you wrote torture porn, it's probably just that one dude that wants to see it, you know. That dude's probably me, because I love that shit. You know, oftentimes you have like an executive producer that just has the money, or you yourself are putting up the money. You know, I'll often put together projects just because I want to work with people. You know, I'll find the funding, I'll pay the people to do it, and then I'll bring them out and we'll make a project. And I've won a lot of awards that way. Done a lot of stuff like that, but it's not a poor man's sport, right? It's typically coming from somebody that's very passionate about it, right? Hey, we got one executive producer that's just like die hard, really wants to do it, gonna put their nephew in it, it's gonna be great. That's where it comes from, right? And then you just gotta convince people to have it. Now, once you have the money, once you've gotten it from it, say an angel investor or a venture capitalist came by that does films and they've decided to give you all of the money to produce the content. From there, you just go buy the things that are in your budget. You spend the money, you try and stay under budget if you can, and try and get things cheaper than the amount that you have so that you have that much more leeway for post. But then you just balls to the wall it. It sort of is what it is. You just make it all happen. But hopefully this was helpful, but that's all I had for you guys today. It was a pleasure as always, and you have a wonderful evening.